Hi, I'm John Maxwell. When the top companies in the world are looking for trainers, speakers, and coaches, there's one name that stands above the rest, and that's Maxwell Leadership. Our certified team members have gotten proven results for companies all over the globe, and our reputation, I'm proud to say, is second to none. Some of our members have risen to the top of their profession, including the one you're going to meet today. I proudly introduce you to my friend Bob Fabian Zinka.
Welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ, where we help you lead with purpose and succeed with impact. If you're ready to grow into the kind of leader others want to follow, this podcast is for you. If you're determined to elevate your success and leave a lasting legacy, this podcast is for you. As my mentor, Dr. John C. Maxwell reminds us, everything rises and falls on leadership. Our goal is simple: to inspire you, challenge you, and equip you with insights that can transform the trajectory of your leadership journey. Welcome aboard to another episode of the Leadership and Success Podcast with Coach BZ.
Hi, I'm Roy Castleman. A few years ago, I had what most business owners dream of. 3 companies, millions in revenue, money in the bank. From the outside, it looked like I'd made it. But inside, I was working 14-hour days, stressed to the point of collapse, losing my health, and watching my relationships fall apart. It all came to a head in late 2021 when I found myself on top of a 130-foot tower, seconds away from ending my life. The only thing that stopped me was something I'd learned months before. A breathwork practice that gave me complete stillness for the first time in my adult life. That moment saved me, and it set me on a mission to help business owners reclaim their time, restore their energy, and build companies that gives them their lives back. Today, I run 3 companies in just 5 hours a week. I've traveled over 30 countries in the last 2 years, skydived, freedived under the ice, and most importantly, rebuilt my relationships, starting with myself. The Elevate 360 plan I created combines 3 things. It uses AI to give you your time back, wellness practices to restore your energy, and a business operating system to scale your company without you as the bottleneck. If you're ready to take back your life without sacrificing your business, click the link below.
All right, we have a very special guest for you. Welcome back to the Leadership and Success Podcast. Before I bring in my guest, I want to remind everyone, please let us know where you guys are joining us from, what city and what state, and if you are outside of the US, which country. And also let us know what you are grateful for today. And if you do have a question for my guest, go ahead and type your question in the comments on LinkedIn and YouTube, and we're going to be answering your questions live today. All right, let me see if I can properly introduce our guest today. I am really honored and privileged to be speaking today to Roy Castleman. He has spent nearly 3 decades building businesses, working across more than 30 countries, and learning firsthand that business success and life success are not always the same thing. After building multimillion-pound businesses, Roy found himself working approximately 90 hours a week, becoming the bottleneck in organization he had originally built to create freedom. A period of extraordinary business and personal adversity ultimately forced him to rethink not only how to operate his companies, but also how he wanted to live. So today, Coach Roy combines business operating system, AI, leadership, and human performance to help entrepreneurs build companies that can succeed without consuming their lives. He is the founder of All the Power, a certified BOS coach, Wim Hof Method Level 2 instructor, Oxygen Advantage instructor, record-setting skydiver with more than 2,500 jumps, free driver, and the author of a timely new book, Thinking Outside Your Brain with AI, how AI can help you think clearly, reclaim your time, and get your life back. So part of what we're going to be exploring today is when success becomes a prison, how do entrepreneur and executive become trapped by the very organization they created to give them freedom, but also getting your life back, right? Perhaps the biggest question of the conversation will be, if AI and better system give us our time back. What are we going to do with it? So, without any further ado, please help me welcome to the Leadership and Success Podcast, the one and only Coach Roy Castleman. Good afternoon, Roy. How are you doing today? It's morning here in California, afternoon in England. How's everything going?
Today is another beautiful day. The sun
day.
is shining, the
Yes,
people are smiling, everything is good. Thank you.
Wonderful. So what are you grateful for today, Roy?
I'm grateful for the people around me.
Yes.
I'm so blessed to be able to share honestly, to listen as deeply as I can, and to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. Right?
Powerful. And for members in my audience who are meeting you for the very first time, who is Roy? Not the entrepreneur, the author, the coach, or the technologist, but the person. Who are you at your core?
I'm a searcher.
Hmm.
I search for answers. I search for excitement. I search for stillness. I search for what is life about? Why are we here? How can I be the best that I can be? And how can I serve the best way I can serve?
Wow. So you are a forever student for life, always learning.
100%. Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. Always seeking to add value. Now, you grew up in South Africa and eventually arrived in London with very little money. What did those early experiences teach you about risk, resilience, and self-reliance?
The first company I worked for was the BBC.
Oh, yeah, the little company I heard of, yes.
Yeah, that's a little company. And I was going for an interview as a spreadsheet operator. And I didn't know what a spreadsheet was. Yeah. And walking down the road towards this interview, I had 75 pounds left to my name. Walking down the road to this interview, I went past a shop that did Excel and Word training. And I was like, I'm sure that's a spreadsheet. Let me ask them. So I popped into this place and, the kind lady there, I said, listen, how much is your course? And she said, 70 pounds. I've got 75, it's £5 left for food. Okay, so how long does it take? It's 3 days. I said, I'll tell you what, if you can give me a half an hour training session and show me what a spreadsheet is, and I can go to the BBC and get the job, I'll come back and do the course.
Wow.
And bless her, she did. She was like, okay, let's go. And she showed me about spreadsheets and using the mouse and doing all these things. Yeah, and I went into the BBC and got the job.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, yeah.
That is amazing. Man, I think that really takes a lot of faith, no? Faith in yourself, faith in people, and just believing that things are gonna work out for you. Where do you think that faith came from?
I think in part growing up in Africa, growing up knowing that without a safety net, you had to do something.
Yes.
That's always been the way I approach life, and I have many more stories like that one, which got to me to where I am. And the faith, I think, has to come. When I believe in a higher power, I believe that we're going to be looked after. I believe that we're on the path that we need to be on. Sometimes that's a hard path, and sometimes that's an easier path. And the more you can just trust in the moment, live in the moment, and believe in yourself, the further you go.
That is really powerful. And for those listening in the audience, I think for most people, if they were in the situation you were in, fear would also creep in, right? It's like, okay, what if you ask and she says no? What if you interview and you don't get the job? And what if you get the job and then you lose it? So there's always I guess my mentor calls it paralysis by analysis. Most people, they don't want to take the action that's required for them to become successful because they are afraid. Sometimes afraid of failure, but sometimes afraid of success too. How did you handle failure back then?
What if you don't ask? What opportunity are you missing? I love failure, and I've learned to love failure. And I did a lot of indoor skydiving, and very early on in my journey, I did hundreds of hours. Very early on in my journey, I realized that as humans, what we do is we look forward to the thing that we want. Right? Keep on. If only I had that. If only I had that. But we don't take the time to enjoy the journey. right?
Mm.
We don't take the time to recognize that every time I fail, I'm giving myself an opportunity to learn something. And
Wow.
if we can flip that switch and we can say, right, what if this wasn't failure? What if this was a learning journey all the way through?
Wow, that's powerful. Powerful. Well, at 19 years old, you were struck by a drunk driver, and that caused you to really think differently about regret and the life you really wanted to live. How did that experience kind of shape the choices you made afterward?
It was probably the best experience in my life.
Really?
There I was on the motorway. I was hitchhiking. I had a fight with my girlfriend, and full of testosterone, and I just had to leave. And I was hitchhiking away from home. And as
Mm.
I turned around, this Mercedes-Benz driver fell asleep at the wheel,
Oh my
and
goodness.
he, came. I heard something behind me, and I turned around, and his bumper hit my leg. My head
Wow.
went through his windscreen. My arm broke on his
Oh
side
no.
mirror, and I flipped into the middle of the road. And I call it my white line moment because there I was lying in the middle of the white line. There was a couple of Samaritans that stopped, and they pulled me so that I was straight on the white line.
Hmm.
And the
Wow.
cars were zipping past, and I lay there and I had regret. I had
Hmm.
regret that I hadn't told my mom I loved her. I had regret for the things I hadn't done, that I hadn't been skydiving, that I hadn't, lived a full life. And I thought this was my time, right? I was done, and I wouldn't get a chance. And I swore to myself then, if I get through this, I
Wow.
will never be in a situation where I have regret about having not done something.
Wow. That is so profound. First, I'm really sorry you had to go through all of that. I think it was Les Brown who said, right, the cemetery is one of the unwealthiest places in the city. People who die with dreams and lots and lots of regret. Wow. What did you learn from that experience?
I learned that I have a high pain threshold. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But more, I learned to look at the gift of today.
Mm.
Today is all we have. And today is where you make decisions. And today is when you decide to do something. And today is when you book the holiday. Or
Mm.
you give your kid a hug. Or today is when you tell people you love them.
Yes.
Yeah. Tomorrow is not that day because we only own today.
Man, I guess that gives you a sense of, you know, getting things done right away, like expediency. But wow, so you eventually built businesses operating internationally and achieved the kind of entrepreneurial success many people really dream about. When did you first realize that business success and life success were not necessarily the same thing?
Two times really. The first time was 2017. I'd been working hard for years. I'd been really pushing and pushing and pushing, and I had a good team around me. I was working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Wow.
And as it turned out, the very first IT company that I worked for, the owner came to me and said, "Roy, do you want to buy the company?" So
Hmm.
now I have two, and now I have the opportunity for a third. And I was like, I don't know what to do. I
Hmm.
can't. I just can't do this. And I realized then that I was putting my health at risk. I was drinking too
Yeah.
much. I was sleeping under my desk. When I got back from client sessions
Hmm.
at 3 in the morning and getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning,
Wow.
working 40-hour weekends, and I realized I couldn't maintain that. And I then learned the entrepreneurial operating system. I learned that there was more for me to learn because I think
Hmm.
as business owners we think we should be able to do it, right?
Yes.
We believe we see other people having success and we think we should be able to do that. And the answers aren't all in your head. The
Hmm.
answers are out there in the world, and you can go and find the answers that'll work for you. And for me, that was the first realization that I had to do something different. The
Wow.
second realization was after that I bought an adventure center. So this was an indoor skydiving, indoor surfing. It
Hmm.
was a dream. Spent a lot of money on it, and I bought it just before COVID.
Wow.
So Eventually, that company went bankrupt, and that was a lesson in letting go. Yeah, control the controllables. Yeah, and let everything else go. Yeah, that's all you can do is control the controllables.
Wow, that is quite a fascinating story. Why do you think it's so important to learn how to rest, especially as an entrepreneur, and really take care of yourself before you can take care of your clients?
You see, as entrepreneurs, and I love entrepreneurs and business people and business owners, I think we're 1% and 1.5% of the world. We see a problem in the world and we step out to go and fix that problem. And we do this from the position that we're trying to help, right? I very seldom find entrepreneurs that aren't trying to help. And then we do this for the step of freedom. We want to be free, but this becomes our biggest prison. It's a very lonely place to be, because you can't talk to your wife anymore. The third time you've spoken to her, she's ignoring you. You can't talk to your friends about it because they're not in the same place as you. You can't talk to your staff about it because, quite frankly, you have to show this face to the world, right? Or your suppliers. So you can be in a very, very lonely space where you're trying really hard to be something that you're not ready to be, or you don't have all the tools to be. And the thing that fails first is our own health, our own mental health, our own physical health.
Yes.
And you can't pour from a half-empty glass or from an empty glass, or all of these truisms. They really come to you. I mean, during that process, I actually, apart from almost ending my life, I ended up in the hospital with a burst colon. Right. During COVID, there I was for 11 days with a burst colon in hospital. And that was purely down to myself pressurizing myself to be something that I couldn't be.
Wow.
And what's more important, that you wake up tomorrow morning, and you can smell the air around you, and give the people next to you a hug, or that you have the money in the bank, and people are thinking that you're a great person.
Yes.
So you have to really decide what's important to you. I don't have £1 million in the bank anymore. I wish I did. But that's not as important as going to Iceland for a trip with my family, for being able to do things that make us human, right?
Wow. That is really, really powerful. And it's especially for young people. It looks like when they start their career, the only thing that matters is making as much money as they possibly can. But the truth is, if you lose your health, money absolutely has no meaning. It cannot do anything, because without your health, you really don't have any wealth at all. And I think this is a great segue to the next segment, because the distinction between having a successful business and having a successful life really takes us directly into what I think is probably one of the most important part of your story, right? When success becomes a prison. You just mentioned that a moment ago. Because at one point you were working approximately, like you say, 90 plus hours a week. How does an intelligent, a successful entrepreneur gradually get trapped in a business he or she originally built to create freedom?
Excuse me. I think it happens in small stages. I know for me it happened in small stages. You have one small success, you have another small success, you have another small success, and then along the way you have failures. And sometimes they're big and sometimes they're small, and you keep on pushing for that success. Right. And as you're pushing for that success, you lose sight of yourself. You lose sight of who you are. You lose sight of what's important. I mean, your family is important, but you believe that you're doing this for your family.
Wow.
Right. At the same time, you're not spending any time with your family because you're always away. And they just look at this whole thing as, look, you're getting more and more unhealthy. You're always angry. You're always in a bad mood. And why is it that we can't see what's in front of us? What's so important?
Yes. Wow. That is really insightful. And I guess you said there was probably a couple of moments where that happened, but can you tell us of a moment when you truly realized that I do not own this business anymore? This business actually owns me.
I think I can probably point to half a dozen different times in my business career that's been true.
Wow.
Just before the 2008 crash, we all lost a lot of money, right? And you're just surviving, working 14, 15, 16-hour days, and you're not you're not able to see the way out. There's no light at the end of the tunnel, right? I think for me, really, it was that point at the adventure center. The biggest point at the adventure center was, if I don't let go now, I've always had this firm belief that I can fix anything.
Yes.
Some things are not fixable, right? And when I realized that it's either take my own life or walk away from this, and had to accept the worst case scenario and say, right, that's it. I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to have to walk away from it. And then at that point, something strange happened. There was just this massive relief, right?
Wow.
Because then all the world's problems weren't on my shoulders anymore. Then it was somebody else's problem.
Yes.
Yeah. All I had to do was get up tomorrow morning, find a place to live. I called my mom up and said, hey, Mark, can I come and live with you? Because, I don't know what's going to happen here. And if you can accept the worst case scenario, then you can step forward and then just make every day a little bit better, you'll be surprised what you can do.
Wow. That is really insightful, because I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs who watch the show, and so many times we kind of wear exhaustion, right, as a badge of honor. What do you now believe leaders misunderstand about the hustle culture, sacrifice, and resilience?
I firmly believe that, and I know that when you're at this point of near burnout, that 70% of the small business owners in the UK are at one stage in the year on near burnout. You just cannot perform.
Yeah.
You don't have the ability to perform at anything near your peak performance. I get up in the morning, I do my breath work, I do my meditation, I jump in my sauna, do some exercise, jump in an ice bath. And I would never have taken that time for myself before, right? But I come out of that and I'm energetically strong. And when I'm energetically strong, then my vision is to help 10,000 business owners this year. My vision then is actually achievable. But if I was working 15 hours before that and I woke up tired, I didn't do any exercise, what am I going to achieve? I'm going to survive. And there's a whole big difference between surviving and thriving.
Wow. That is really powerful. And you just mentioned that during COVID, right? The pressure surrounding your adventure business, which was really a dream opportunity for you, but the pressure became extraordinary, right? And you've spoken publicly about reaching an extremely dark point in your life because of that. What did that experience ultimately teach you about leadership and the limits of simply pushing through?
I think it taught me more about knowing when to let go, right? We talk about letting go of the branch, and
Yes.
I've spoken about controlling the controllables, and I think we spend so much time trying to control what we have no way of controlling, and that just puts us further into the spiral of bad things. So how do we make sure that we can control everything in our environment, right? And I've learned to take full responsibility for every one of my actions and not blame other people.
Yes.
Right? Because if I take full responsibility for myself, I don't sit there and blame the government or COVID or other things. I'm like, okay, fine, I am where I am, and now how can I make it better? And that empowered me to be able to look at these challenges and these problems and these pains with a different lens, a different opportunity lens.
Yes.
And we did some amazing things during that adventure center. I mean, I painted it as a bad picture, but we were the first people to bring out Zoom-based escape rooms. We had an escape room. I got up after having 4 hours crying on the floor and saying it's all done. In March, and so okay, we're gonna put an escape room out on WhatsApp. And they're like, "What are you talking about, Roy? You're crazy." And then it moved into Zoom because I was in the IT space. It moved into Zoom, and 3 weeks later we had the first successful Zoom escape room.
Wow.
And we literally had 700 of the top people from the banks and the financial institutions all coming to our escape room.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And I mean, it was a small piece in a big expense,
Yes.
but I think as entrepreneurs we can be so positive, and we can
Mm.
really always see the positive, and I love that about us. I really do.
Yes.
Yeah, and then
Wow.
I also look at that piece of at some point you have to let go.
That is really inspiring. And for a founder, an entrepreneur who's listening right now, and they recognize themselves in your old 90-hour-a-week lifestyle, what would you want them to hear before their body, their relationship, or their business forces them to listen?
Learn how to take time for yourself. Learn how to love yourself. Learn how to realize without you being strong, you can't look after the people you're trying to look after.
Mm.
And learn how to breathe.
Wow, that is powerful. Powerful. Now, your recovery introduced you deeply to breath work and the Wim Hof method, which you teach as well. You coach quite a lot of people. But why did rebuilding Roy have to happen before rebuilding the business?
Again, from that same point, right? After I came out of that bad experience, of nearly losing so much money, nearly losing the other businesses, losing many friends. Yeah, you have to step back and you have to take time to heal.
Mm.
Mental health is a very strange thing. I would spend days not doing anything.
Wow.
And then look back and I wouldn't know what I'd done. And it was only through the process of helping people through Wim Hof and helping people,
Mhm.
and seeing other people with the same problems that I realized that I wasn't alone in that.
Wow.
Right? Because you think we're alone, but we're not alone. We're there's always somebody. They say you put your problems in a bucket and you swirl them around, and you'll always take your own problems back.
Yes.
And I've seen that so many times where there's a lot of suffering out in the world, and we can make a difference in it, and we can help in it. And if my lessons can just help one person, then
Mhm.
I'm happy. I want to help a lot more. But if I can just inspire people to look after themselves first,
Yes.
then that will be worthwhile doing.
Wow, one person at a time. Yeah, because even from the intro, I talked about how you've become a Wim Hof method level 2 instructor. You've explored breath work, cold exposure, meditation, free diving, and other discipline. What are those practices kind of taught you about remaining calm under pressure?
You know, a lot of people look at what I do, and they think thrill seeker, adrenaline junkie, and and when I started, maybe that was the case.
Hmm.
But when you take that step out of an airplane door, right, you give away control, and you have to be present. You have to be in the moment. You have to be focused. And when you're in that moment, you can do amazing things.
Mm.
Everything just becomes clear. The path before comes clear.
Yeah.
So when I'm in the ice, if I'm diving under the ice, or if I'm doing, free diving, there's the moments that you have to be in the present moment, and those
Mhm.
moments are gold. They really are.
Mm.
Because when you find those moments, there's a healing that happens in your brain. You can't think about anything. You can't think about the problems. You can't think about anything
Yes.
else. And just those moments of clarity, you land, you come back to the real world, and everything else makes sense. So when you give
Mhm.
yourself time to be in the present moment, and when you give yourself time to stop worrying about everything else, you really can do some amazing discoveries.
Wow, carpe diem, seize the moment. That is so important to be in the present, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because when we're talking about rebuilding the leader first, you developed what you call the Thrive framework, right?
Yeah.
Thrive is for time, health, relationship, investing in oneself, vision, and execution. Why is that sequence important in Thrive?
The first thing I always hear from business owners is I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I've lived that life. You go from one fire to another fire to another fire.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the first thing that falls in that journey, when you don't have time, is your health, your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, whatever that looks like. So if I'm going to get you some time back, the first thing I want you to do is actually be honest with yourself about how healthy you are,
Yes.
and then your relationships. Yeah, if you've been suffering those two things, you've probably been neglecting your relationships, your relationship with yourself. Yeah, do you respect who you are and where you stand and what you stand for? Yeah, because once you can start respecting
Wow.
yourself, then those people that need to come into your life will come into your life. Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. And investing, people are quite happy to go and invest in external things, but how do they invest in themselves?
Yes.
Yeah. How do you actually invest? If you want your business to succeed, you need to invest in your own knowledge, your own wellness, your own power in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we go through, and then we all have such vision, right? We have a vision in the world. Do we want to? But are you chasing the right vision? Are you chasing the vision that works for you? Are you clear about your vision? Can you articulate your vision to the world? Right?
Yes.
Can you articulate it to yourself? What does that look like? And then the big play of executing.
Yes.
How do you put all these things together? How do you get the business operating system underneath it that is so foundational in what I teach? How do you use that in a way that's not going to break the previous things?
Well, that is really powerful, insightful, and almost counterintuitive, right? Because I really love the fact that execution comes last in your framework. Because business culture often put execution first. So, why did you deliberately put the human foundations ahead of execution?
We're into a world now where execution is faster and faster and faster. Yeah. And understanding is less and less and less.
Hmm.
If you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand your business, if you don't understand your place in the world, how can you make a difference?
Wow, that's powerful. Powerful. And another thing about rebuilding the leader first. So there's definitely things in life that are more important than money or just business. But you became a father. So how has fatherhood changed your definition of success?
I became a father, and my daughter's one of the best things in my life, and I'm
Yes.
very proud of her. And she's had a tough journey as well, right? I really don't understand how the teenagers and the kids of today. She's 22 now. Yeah, how do they even navigate this crazy world, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and I've had to realize that I need to be honest always about
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, my daughter can come and tell me anything that she wants to. Yeah, and she does, and quite often that shocks the hell out of me, right? Yeah, but I wouldn't change that for the world.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of what she's doing. Yeah, she's actually working with me now on the agentic stuff and the AI stuff, and
Mhm.
the kids stuff today are being a parent right now. What do they do? Yeah, within this
Yeah.
AI world, where are we going? And all you can do is be there, is listen, understand. Yeah, and really, I mean, in the early years, I wasn't present. I wasn't as present because my mind was so busy worrying about the business.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Wow.
getting back to myself has enabled me to be much more present and there and understanding. And it's been an amazing journey.
Th- That is really powerful. That's a great segue to our next segment. Let's talk about building a business that actually doesn't need you. Again, that's very counterintuitive, and most people would think, "How is that even possible?" Because you went from businesses that consume roughly 90 plus hours of your week to businesses that can operate with dramatically less direct involvement. How did you do it?
How do you know when you're running a business or when the business is running you?
Wow.
When you're running a business and you step away for 3 months and the business carries on running, then you've built something. Your business is like your child, right? And I use this analogy. You start out, you have the inception, the pregnancy, the crazy birth, the first 6 months of no sleeping, and it's that washing machine of emotion and
Yes.
you're holding this thing in your hand that you don't want to break it. All these things. Yeah, and then you go through and I think what we have to do is we have to build our businesses so they're ready to go out in the world by themselves,
Mm.
right? Yeah, much like if we have our children, and we're always doing everything, and they live at home when they're 35 years old because
Yeah.
they never had to stand on their own 2 feet. That's what happens in a business. You get to teenage years, and you try and control, right? The biggest lesson I learned was delegation. Yeah,
Yes.
I thought I was good at delegating, but what I was good at was trying to help people. So I'd sit in a room with 20 people and say, "Oh, just do this and just do that and just do this,"
Mm.
and all I was doing was breaking their confidence, right? Yeah, so then
Mm.
nobody could do anything without asking me, and then I've got 50 emails a day with people saying, "Roy, what do I do here? What do I do there?" But when you employ good people and you bring in good people, the worst thing you can do is then put the handcuffs on them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
you have to let them become their own 100%.
Well, I guess there's really a difference, right, between building systems and having your business depend on you 100% of the time. So, what do you think is the difference between delegating tasks, which you just mentioned, and actually building a business operating system? What's the difference
Well,
there?
a business operating system is, it's been around for 40, 50 years. And it's what are the independent structures within that business, that allow the business to run.
Mm.
So you look at the roles and responsibilities, the seats, the numbers that drive the business. You work on the business. As
Mhm.
business owners, we get stuck working in the business.
Yes.
And we're like always doing, but we never take the 30,000-foot view on what's actually happening.
Mm.
And if you can build a business operating system where you're saying, right, here's my marketing seat. In my marketing seat, I have these roles and responsibilities. And with
Yes.
these roles and responsibilities, I know these roles are doing well if they have, for example, this number, this number, and this number, and they're tracking it. And I've trained that person well. I've
Mm.
handed over the responsibility really well. They know exactly what they're doing. They know what good looks like.
Mhm.
Business owners and staff are always going to be a different breed of people. Business owners are always going to do 120% of the work the way that they know how to do it, whereas
Mhm.
staff are only going to do 70% or 60% or even 30% if you're not managing them correctly. Yeah,
Yes.
because half of the time you haven't told them exactly what they need to do.
Mm.
You think you know what they need to do, so you tell them what you think you need to tell them. You're not very clear about it.
Yes.
And then they come back and they give you some rubbish, and you're like, what's this? Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and when you can look at yourself and say, right, I have told this person, and you need to tell somebody something 7 times before they get it. I've told
Mhm.
this person, I've given them an SOP, a standard operating procedure. They can follow it step by step.
Mhm.
And we can then sit down with it afterwards and say, right, show me where the process was failed. Show me
Yeah.
how I failed to instruct you, how I failed to support you, so that we can make this better.
Mm.
Now everything starts working in a much smoother way.
That really makes sense. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, they end up becoming the bottleneck in their own companies, which is quite unfortunate. Why do you think that happens so often?
So often because of delegation.
Yeah.
So often because they're scared to let go of control. They make good decisions about people, and they don't let the people do what they're good at doing.
Yeah. Steve
Yeah,
Jobs said that hiring the best people and then telling them what to do.
yeah.
And wow. But how does a leader then determine what only they should do what should be delegated, like we're talking about, but also what should be automated and what should simply stop being done?
Well, some big questions in there by itself, because we start leaning into the new AI world and what that looks like, right? And I think humans need to be doing what humans are good at doing: connecting, collaborating, communicating, right? Really, building rapport, understanding clients, understanding needs, that nuance of what makes us truly human. I think anything that you can do on a system step by step by step, and you can redo that each time as you need to, that can be, properly documented. One of my clients, he came to me first of all, and he runs a company which has routes. So they have to send their technicians out to 20 different jobs a day.
Wow.
And he would spend 14 hours per week, right, trying to work out these routes. So when I came to him, I always sit down with people. I say, right, what are your top 3 problems? I said, this just drives me nuts. I hate doing it. So we figured out how to do it on software. We figured out how to do it properly. And I made him keep on doing the SOP so that he could literally take a one-page document and hand it to a staff member, and the staff member could do it.
Wow.
And we knew it was successful when that staff member, they went away, and they were home the one weekend, and his 7-year-old daughter was there, and he said, well, do you want to make $20? And he gave her the document, and she was able to do it from that document. That's when you know your SOP is right.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I used to tell my team back then. My oldest one was about 9 years old. I want you to write this in such a way that my 9-year-old can follow your procedure and be able to get to the same result. Yeah, that is so true. But so I guess this brings us to something quite fascinating, because first you learn to get the business out of your head through systems. But now you are helping people get some of their cognitive workload out of their heads through artificial intelligence, which brings me to your best-selling book. Here I have a copy. It's available everywhere books are sold. Thinking Outside Your Brain with Artificial Intelligence. How AI can help you think clearly, reclaim your time, and get your life back. So tell me, Roy, why did this book have to be written?
I see business owners every day that say, are you using AI? And they say, yep, I'm using AI, but they're using ChatGPT for their emails. Now we have 1,000 experts at our fingertips. Information is now going into a free age, or £20 a month, $20 a month. And if we're not asking the right questions, if we're not thinking about it in an AI first way, we're not getting the most out of it, right? I get up in the morning sometimes, and I have my ChatGPT on my phone, and I say, right, I'm gonna brain dump something with you. I just gotta have to get it all out of my head. And I talk to it for 2 minutes, then I stop, and then I talk to it for another 2 until there's nothing left in my head. I'm like, then I push on the talk to talk. I said, right, now help me brainstorm what to do. So I'm using my talking action, and then I'm using my talking and receiving action, different modalities. And we used to sit down with our team and brainstorm years ago, and even now, and you'd get 2 or 3 people in the room, and suddenly ideas were flowing.
Yes.
And this is what we should be using AI for. This is there's methodologies around this whole process of you don't have to think inside your brain anymore. You can think outside your brain. Anything that you want to know, there is an expert out there that knows how to do it. Right? Anything. You want to be a nuclear physicist? I'm sure there's some expert on there that can help you. And so information is now free, but humanity is now the premium.
Say that one more time. Wow.
Information is now free, but humanity is now the premium.
Wow. Powerful. So you make a very important distinction, I think, in your book between AI to replace thinking and using AI to actually improve thinking. Big difference. Can you walk us through that distinction, please? I think today we really need that more than ever before.
I think fast. I don't type as fast. I think fast. And I quite often will be doing 10 things at a time,
Mhm.
right? And jumping between things. And beforehand, my limitation was how I could type, or how I could get information out, and I wasn't able to have access to all the thinking tools out there.
Mhm.
But now, if I want to do something, I can say, right, I want you to help me think about this, and I want to do that, and I've heard about this tool. Just explain them all to me, and all that information can come to me very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah. And what happens if you're doing this in the right way? If you're not just saying to AI, you do the thinking, if you're not just giving away your power to AI, so you do the thinking, you're actually thinking much more. You have more time, because your brain is, my brain gets full, right? It gets full of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. And when I can unload that stuff and use the brain for what it's good at, it's the best computer in the world.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Even now, it's they're trying to copy the brain to make computers. Right.
Yes.
So you already have this amazing computer in your head, and when you start using it in that way, when you start enabling yourself to take in much more information, and not just relying on the tool to come up with your entire project plan or
Mm.
your entire document, now you have to remain the architect. Yeah. There was a book called AI Thinking Partner, and
Mhm.
it really opened up my eyes to, okay, yes, I can use this to think more. Yeah, and
Mm.
it really, step by step by step, I find myself doing so much more work because the rest of my day is cleared up. I don't have to remember all the stuff. I don't have to make the notes. I don't have to go back and do things. I now have
Yes.
more time to think.
That is really insightful, because one of the core idea in your book is that the brain should really function more like a processor. You said computer than just a storage device. What happened to leadership quality when executives carry every commitment, every problem, every idea, and unfinished decision in their heads all the time?
The unfinished decisions are the biggest drain. How many times have you woken up in the day, and had this nagging feeling that something's not being done,
Mm.
or that something's not right?
Yes.
You know, and how does it affect your mood? And our brain is an amazing tool, and it creates chemicals, and then we feel right.
Mhm.
And if we're not feeling at peace, we're not performing at our peak.
Wow.
So you go through this process of getting more and more bogged down and more locked in, and the walls are just slowly but surely creeping in, and you can't see or feel a way out.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you have the opportunity of getting all that stuff out of your brain, right? Yeah. And when you do, the clarity becomes so much easier.
Man, that is really, really powerful, because in your book, you also introduce the evolve method, right? EVOLVE. Uh, can you walk my audience through it? Like, empty your head, voice the problem, organize thinking partner, listen critically, and verify the human, and then elevate your edge.
So the process really is you have to remain the human, right? And you have to appreciate what the human looks like.
Mhm.
Empty your head for me is critical. And I'll get up quite often, especially when things are starting to pile up, and I'll just, bleh,
Yes.
just get it out of my head, right? And the rest of the process around this, it's this is a tool that's
Mhm.
there that can help you do so much more. You have to remain the owner of your thoughts. You have to
Wow.
remain the captain of your ship to know, where you are. You can sit there and you can have this team of agents doing all this work for you, and they will get it wrong, right?
Yes.
And this is what everyone's suffering at the moment is that, okay, go and do this job. Yeah. The ability to communicate has to be learned again for humans.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, let me clarify that.
Mhm.
If you're putting rubbish in, you're going to get rubbish out. So
Wow.
therefore, if you're getting rubbish out, look to yourself because you're putting rubbish in.
Wow. That's so simple, but it's so powerful. Because in your book, basically, you have a three section, right? You start with a shift and then the evolve method, which we're talking about now, and then you end with part three, the edge. Can you tell me which one of the chapter was most challenging for you to write, or if not, one that surprised you? You ended up after writing the chapter getting insights you didn't expect.
I'll tell you another story answering that.
Mm-hmm.
The power for me in authoring this book, I won't say I wrote it, I'll say I authored it. Yeah, and I explain that in the foreword. Yeah, I've never been able to get the information out of my head to my audience correctly. I tell you the story about getting run over by a drunken driver, and my partner says to me, "You just rattle through that." And we went on a book writing retreat. There were four of us on this book writing retreat, and I was using the various but different methodologies to help get AI to help me with writing this, authoring the book, a ghostwriter, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through this process of telling the story. So I talked the story in, okay, and that's how I capture my voice. And then I met this amazing guy, Dennis Ross, who's a total wordsmith. Right, he's a magician with words, and he's a ghostwriter. If you have $30 million, he'll write you a book. But that's the people that he writes. And I was like, I need to be able to do that. That's what I need. I need to be able to do that. So I started studying. So I was like, no, think outside your brain. I don't need to be able to do that. I need to know the methodology that he uses to do that.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's the difference.
So I downloaded his methodology into my tool. Yeah, and the first time I printed out that story about me, in my accident, I literally read it out to my friends, and I brought myself to tears.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'd found my voice. My voice wasn't at the end of my fingers. I could never touch type. I write like a doctor. I can't even read my own writing. But I could talk, and I could express what I wanted to express, in the way that I'd never been able to before. I'm not sure that answers your question or not.
Yes, absolutely. Quite fascinating. Because another thing in your book I really like, right? You talk about listening critically, right? We know that generative AI can produce extremely, confident answer that could be completely wrong. There is a lot of hallucination in AI. But how do you teach leaders to challenge AI rather than becoming intellectually dependent on it?
Well, I think as humans, we have a real problem in listening. We listen to answer, we don't listen to understand. And this is so true of AI. We listen, because we want the next step, and we just, okay, that sounds okay. But we don't actually understand what's being said. So it sounds, I mean, how many times have you got 3 pages of amazing sounding text from ChatGPT or from Claude or, whichever? And actually, when you go into the depth of it, when you go and look at the citations or say, where did you get this from? It's not right. So listening critically is very much about, going back to the human part of you and saying, am I doing this right? Does this sound right? Does this sound too good to be true? Because AI is a yes man. He's going to tell you what you want to hear.
Yes.
Unless you challenge and challenge and challenge. And so how do you listen to the output in the same way that you would to somebody you're giving an interview to? You're consistently making sure you challenge the assumptions that you're hearing, or challenge the content you're hearing.
Yes. Wow. Because in your evolve methodology, right, the V is to verify the human. I think that's so critical, especially now in the age of artificial intelligence. What exactly are we protecting or preserving at that stage? Verify the human.
We're protecting our architectural dream. I want to go and build whatever I'm building.
Yes.
I can turn around in one shot and say to Claude, go and build me this app. and it builds an app. But that's not my app.
Mm.
That's the app of the summation of human knowledge put into a tool that's going to pick whatever it wants.
Yes.
Yeah. If I want to build my app, I have to remain the architect, and I have to guide, and I have to direct, and I have to understand at each stage of it, is that what I'm actually saying, rather than just accepting what is put in the page in front of me. So so it's so important to verify not only the facts and the figures and those things. For sure, you don't want to put things out that's wrong, but you want to verify your intent. Is your intent being pushed forward in the answer that's coming out?
I really love that, because it goes back to the idea of thinking outside your brain, right? So you are improving your thinking, not outsourcing your thinking to a machine. Because you also advocate in the book for a 60-40 principle, right? 60% human thinking and 40% AI support. Why that balance?
I think we've got so used to thinking about AI as a 90% tool. I'll just let it do everything. Right. And in real terms, if we do that, we're going to end up with AI waffle, AI slop. Right. And once you're getting AI to do a lot more for you in your voice with your understanding, and there's a lot of good ways to do that. Once you have that methodology, you have time to think much more. Once you've cleared your mind, and you can think much more. So use that opportunity to this God-given thing of ours, this amazing computer in our head. Let's liven it up and think outside the box. Let's make the world a better place.
That's really something, because as AI agents become increasingly capable of taking action, rather than just simply providing information, where must human oversight remain non-negotiable?
So many places, so many places in the build phase. When I go through and I build agentic systems for companies, I'm making sure the voice is right. I'm making sure, the understanding of the product, the understanding of the legalities, the understanding of the security, all of these things need to be right. But then also, how do I make sure that when something comes out and I'm going to go and post it, it's checked, right? Do you really want to send something out there that isn't your voice just because you've been lazy and not checked it? You've now given yourself all this time back. Use the time in the right places.
That's really insightful, because the next question that comes to my mind is, what kinds of decision should leaders never fully delegate to artificial intelligence, regardless of how capable this system become?
Human decisions, and I'll just qualify that a bit more. When one of our problems as humans is we make presumptions. Right? And when you presume something, you go down the wrong path. So when you're going in and you're sitting down with a staff member and you're trying to understand what the problem was, take the time to listen and take the time to ask the right questions so that you can understand. Because one thing I've learned over all my years on this planet is nobody ever does anything from a negative intention. Everyone has a positive intention. And if you can find their positive intention, you will understand much better why they've done the thing that they've done. And you can deal with it in a way that's respectful.
That's really something. So talking about the relationship between AI and the human, do you believe that AI will make leadership more important or less important?
Way more important. Way more important. Right? Because we're going to be in an era where the human really gets elevated. Right? So humans are able to do way more with way less. And the guidance of those humans is the power of a leader. Right?
Yes.
How do you guide humans along the path that you want them to go along, and know that they're on the same path as you, or they want to be on the same path? How do you listen to ensure that you're serving the same mission and the same vision and the same purpose? And these are all things that nuance-wise AI is never going to get.
Yes.
Right. So it's going to take the human to sit there, the leader to sit there and say, right, okay, I've got all this information now. Now they can get the insight. They can get to the bottom of all the challenges,
Mm-hmm.
and then make a decision. And there still needs to be that commander level decision at the end.
That's really powerful because it makes me think as we increasingly talk about AI literacy today as a leadership competency, should knowing when not to use AI be equally important, you think?
I think, yeah, definitely. Knowing when to lean on it, definitely. Yeah, I think we risk leaders leaning on AI for the wrong things.
Hmm. Because you said you had a daughter, she's a teenager now, and actually she helps you with part of your business, which is really awesome. I have two daughters. One already got a degree last year. The other one is just starting college this week. And what's important is the world today is so different from the world you and I grew up in, with AI pretty much changing disrupting every single industry out there. How do you think leaders should prepare younger generation for a world where having the answer may become less valuable than asking the right question, than exercising the right judgment, or knowing what really matters? How do we
I think
prepare?
we should really be focusing again on the ability to communicate as humans.
Mm,
Yeah, the ability to listen, to understand, to relate. I see a world where these kids have grown up in toxic social
yeah.
media environments, and
Hmm.
not trusting, and adults not giving them things that they can use in the right way,
Yes.
and just expectations being layered on top of them, which quite frankly were our expectations of a previous age.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know how many times I've heard leaders saying this new generation just don't want to work, and
Yeah.
there's this whole piece. And as we step through, into the next 5 years and 10 years, and as the mundane jobs, the step by step jobs fall away,
Yeah.
and now we have this massive disruption that's coming.
Hmm.
What's going to be more important? It's going to be the people that can build rapport. Yeah,
Yes.
when you build rapport, when you actually connect with another human soul, that's so fundamental to
Mhm.
who we are and what we are, and it's so rewarding, right?
Yes.
And if we can teach the youngsters of today, that skill that our grandparents had,
Mm.
walking down the road and saying hello to somebody, and actually, being
Yes.
interested in what they're doing and understanding there's a different way out there. Those are the things that I think are going to make a difference.
Yeah, it seems like in the age of artificial intelligence that human connection is even more important today than it's ever been in our history, hasn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow. So, what worries you most about where AI is headed?
Perception,
Hmm.
perception on every front. So
And what excites you the most?
the opportunity of abundance.
Hmm.
Medicine is going to be solving a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
Farming is going to be solving a bunch of things. Money is going to become less important.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, I was watching something yesterday. He says in 2036, you're not going to need money anymore. Money is going to lose value. Yeah. So the entire value system is going to change. And I think we have to grow into being better humans,
Yeah.
because and that really excites me. If we can, spend the time to be with the older people, learn from them, spend time with
Mm.
our kids, go on holidays and see the beauty of the world, go
Yes.
and do all those things that you wanted to do. It might not be skydiving and freediving. It might just be walking with your dog and taking tea with a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if we can spend more time not feeling rushed, that
Yes.
would be the gift of AI for me.
More time to be human. So, if you finish the sentence, let's crystallize that thought. In the age of artificial intelligence, the greatest responsibility of a human leader is.
Ensuring that they stay human.
Wow. That's really, really powerful. So let me ask you this. For people who are listening right now, again, we are talking about your book, which is available everywhere books are sold. We are talking about thinking outside your brain with artificial intelligence, how AI can help you think clearly, reclaim your time, and get your life back. If there was one and only one lesson you wanted my audience to take after they read your book, what lesson would that be?
Don't be too hard on yourself. You're still very early.
Yes.
Humanity is only just starting to scratch the surface of this amazing new technology. And if you take advantage of it now and you start doing one small thing every day, but with real depth, you can change your entire life.
Wow, that's powerful. Okay, technically we are out of time. We're already 5 minutes over. Can you give me 5 more minutes before we end?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do this. Let's end the show with this segment. I love this. I call this rapid fire leadership round. So I'm going to ask a question. So answer as quickly as you can, like 30 seconds. Don't take too long to think. Whatever first thought that comes to your mind. So let's see. Talking about leadership, what does that word mean to you today? Leadership.
Leadership means standing at the bottom of the pyramid and supporting everybody else.
So it looks like you are a lifetime learner. What does failure mean to you? Is failure a teacher or an enemy?
Failure is the best teacher you can ever have.
Okay. What about fear? What does jumping out of airplanes more than 2,500 times taught you about fear?
Fear is a good response, but it's not something that you can't walk into.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
I can be fearful, and that shouldn't stop me.
Wow. So feel the fear and do it anyway.
Anyway,
Okay. What about freedom? How do you define freedom today?
freedom is the ability to pick up my passport now and go anywhere in the world that I want to and know that everything's going to be okay without worrying.
Okay, so talking about artificial intelligence, is it a tool, a teammate, a thinking partner, or something else?
It's all of those. It's all of those, but more than that, it's an opportunity.
Okay, looks like health is really important to you, especially having gone through the experience you went through when you almost died. Why should leaders treat health as an asset rather than an afterthought?
Because health is directly tied to the bottom line of your company. Your profit is your health.
Now, you and I, we are parents, and we are parents of girls. You have a daughter, I have two. What do you hope your daughter someday says you taught her about living a meaningful life on planet Earth?
That she goes out and she experiences life, every day to the best of her ability, and she can grow and learn and understand, that she's here to learn lessons, and they're not all bad things.
Powerful. Now, we do love books here already. I want everybody to get a copy of your book available everywhere books are sold. Thinking Outside Your Brain. Which book would you recommend that you didn't write that has inspired you the most? I have that one. What is the name of the book?
The Four Agreements.
The Four Agreements. Yes.
Don Miguel Ruiz.
Why should my audience read that book? It's quite powerful.
Because it allows you to understand your own failings.
Yes.
It allows you to cut the ties of the things that have tied you down in the past.
Powerful. And then earlier in the podcast, you mentioned this word, thinking with AI. Why should we read this book?
I don't know if it was that one.
Sorry. I thought that's the one that you...
AI-driven leader?
Yes. That's that one. AI-driven leader. Why should we read that one?
It's a really good way of thinking.
That's by Jeff Woods, right?
The
AI-driven leader. Yes.
Yeah. I might have said the wrong title beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good way of understanding the different way of using AI, to enable your thinking.
Wow, that is quite powerful. Okay, we are coming to the end of the show, and one other question that I would like for you to tell us is, what would today or tell the young men who arrive in London with almost nothing?
Believe in yourself. Don't let anybody tell you can't do it, because you can.
Wow. Yeah. So when everything is eventually said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
Just somebody that helps people a little bit.
Powerful, powerful. Okay, all good things need to come to an end. So, what can my audience do to add value back to you, Roy?
Yeah, connect to me on LinkedIn. I'd love to chat to you. Yeah, I'd love to enlighten you a little bit about what's possible with AI. And yeah, I'm very happy to talk about breath work and other power. How do you get yourself to be the happiest version of you? Yeah, it would
Mm,
make me really happy to have those conversations.
fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Roy. Before I ask you my very last question, is there a question I should have asked you I didn't get a chance to ask? Anything else you wanted to share today?
I think you've just been amazing, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, here is my very last question. So, you once built businesses that gave you financial success, but consume almost every hour of your life. And today, you are teaching people to use systems and artificial intelligence to really reclaim their time. So, after everything you've experienced, what is time actually for?
Time is for living and
Mm,
experiencing and pleasure and family.
wow. So, you're going back to the human connection in the age of artificial intelligence. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your time today and you being one of our master teacher on this podcast. And last question I'm going to ask, one word that comes to mind that crystallized your time on this podcast today, our hour together.
Insightful.
Insightful. Well, thank you so much, Roy. I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for giving us an extra 10 minutes. I really appreciate that. And everyone, again, make sure to get a copy of the book available everywhere books are sold. And that's Thinking Outside Your Brain with AI by Roy Castleman. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your wisdom. All right, that's it for today. We are going to have two more interviews today. I believe at 10 a.m. I will have a great pleasure of speaking to Chief Warrant Officer David Sledge, U.S. Navy retired. We're going to be talking about Forge in the Weight: Leadership, Patience, Purpose, and Legacy. He has written 3 books, and we are going to go through it. It's going to be about 10 a.m. Pacific time. And then later this afternoon, and I believe it's at, let me double check. The last interview I am going to have today is going to be at 12:30 p.m. So around lunch time, California time. We're going to be talking to First Sergeant Eric Brew, U.S. Army retired. We're going to be talking from warrior to servant leader, the mission beyond the uniform. And I am so looking forward to that. And again, our friend in the spotlight this week is my mentor, Captain John P. Cordell. He has a Doctor of Engineering, U.S. Navy retired. Thank you so much for all of your support, and I hope to see you again in a couple of hours when we speak to Warrant David Sledge. Hope to see you there. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leadership and Success Podcast with your host, Coach BZ. If today's episode added value to your leadership journey, be sure to subscribe, share, and join us again for more wisdom nuggets on how to lead better and achieve greater success. Remember, leadership is the most critical skill of our time. The world will always need leaders to inspire others, drive innovation, and execute meaningful strategy. So why not count yourself among the bold leaders shaping the 21st century? Until next time, stay inspired, stay committed, and keep leading with excellence.